The package weighed 47 pounds and change, but it felt like it held my entire future. I should have known right then that something was about to go sideways in my life. Again, my name's Nick Thompson, and I deliver packages for a living. Not exactly the career trajectory I'd mapped out when I was 25 and married to the woman I thought would be my forever. But here I was, at 38, divorced, driving a beat-up delivery van through the suburbs of Millbrook, Connecticut, wondering how the hell I'd ended up as the guy who brings other people their dreams, while mine got flushed down the divorce court drain. The GPS led me through increasingly fancy neighborhoods until I pulled up to a mansion that looked like it had been transplanted from some English countryside. Stone walls, ivy crawling up the sides, circular driveway with a fountain in the middle. The kind of place my ex-wife Kendra would have killed to live in. I grabbed the heavy crate from the back of my van, noting the return address. Estate Sale Services, Boston. Probably some rich guy buying more stuff he didn't need. Story of America right there. The doorbell played an actual tune. None of that basic ding-dong stuff for these people. After a minute, the massive oak door creaked open to reveal an elderly man in his 80s, wearing a cardigan that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Package for Howard Branson," I said, hefting the crate. The old man's eyes went wide, and he stared at me like he'd seen a ghost. His hands started shaking, and for a second, I thought he might keel over right there on his marble steps. "Thompson," he whispered, reading my name tag. "You're a Thompson." "That's what it says on my birth certificate," I replied, trying to keep things light. Old people made me nervous when they got emotional. "Dear God," he breathed. Come in, please." He ushered me into a foyer that could have housed my entire apartment. Oil paintings lined the walls, and I caught glimpses of what looked like a classic car showroom through an archway to my left. "Your grandfather," Branson said, his voice trembling. "What was his name?" I set the crate down carefully. "Robert Thompson. He died when I was 12. "Why?" Branson sank into a leather chair that probably cost more than my van. "He saved my life in Korea, 1952. I promised him. Promised him if I ever made it big, I'd pay him back. But I lost touch, and then life got complicated, and..." He trailed off, tears forming in his rheumy eyes. "Look, Mr. Branson, I appreciate the story, but I've got 17 more deliveries today. I'm dying," he interrupted. "Cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And I have no family, no children, no siblings left. Just this house, my cars, and a promise I never kept." Something in his voice made me sit down on the expensive couch across from him. "What kind of promise?" "I told your grandfather I'd give him half of everything if I made it home alive." He laughed and said he'd settle for a good bottle of whiskey and a story about the pretty Korean girl I was always talking about. Branson smiled through his tears. "But I meant it. And now, here you are delivering packages to my door like some kind of sign from above." I felt that familiar tingle you get when life's about to take a hard left turn. "Mr. Branson, I think you might be confused." "No confusion at all." He stood up with surprising energy. "Come with me." He led me through the house, past rooms filled with antiques and artwork that belonged in museums. The car showroom I'd glimpsed turned out to be a full garage housing what had to be $2 million worth of classic automobiles. A 1967 Shelby GT 500, a pristine 1963 Corvette split window, a 1969 Dodge Charger that made my heart race just looking at it. 43 cars, Branson said proudly. Plus the house, the investments, the art collection, worth about 12 million give or take. My mouth went dry. That's a lot of money. It should have been your grandfather's. Should have been your father's. Now it should be yours. He turned to face me, and his eyes were clear and determined. "I'm changing my will. You're going to inherit everything, Nick Thompson." I stared at him, waiting for the punchline or the hidden camera crew. But he was serious. Dead serious. "I can't accept that," I said finally. "We just met. You don't know anything about me. I know you're Robert Thompson's grandson. I know you work for a living instead of sitting around waiting for handouts. And I know you didn't try to talk me out of it for your own benefit. You tried to talk me out of it because it's the right thing to do." He smiled. "That tells me everything I need to know." We spent the next 2 hours talking. He told me about Korea, about my grandfather's bravery under fire, about the promise that had haunted him for 70 years. I told him about my divorce, my job, my small apartment across town that suddenly felt like a cardboard box. When I finally left, I had his personal phone number and a standing invitation to dinner the next evening. I also had a growing sense that my life was about to change in ways I couldn't even imagine. I was right about that part. I was halfway back to the depot when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Saw the news story online. Interesting development. We should talk. Kendra. My blood ran cold. News story? I pulled over and did a quick Google search for my name. There it was. Third result down. Local delivery driver named heir to millionaire's fortune. Heartwarming story of Korean War promise kept. There was even a photo. Someone had snapped a picture of me and Branson talking in his driveway. The article was barely 3 hours old, but it already had 200 shares on social media. My ex-wife had found out about my inheritance before I'd even processed it myself. This was going to get complicated fast. Kendra didn't waste time. By 7 a.m. the next morning, she was parked outside my apartment building in her shiny BMW, the one her new husband Derek had bought her as an engagement gift. I spotted her through my kitchen window as I made coffee, and for a moment I was transported back 3 years to when seeing that face first thing in the morning was the highlight of my day. She'd always been beautiful in that sharp, calculated way that some women perfect in their 30s. Blonde hair that cost more to maintain than my monthly grocery budget, clothes that whispered expensive instead of shouting it, makeup applied with surgical precision. Everything about Kendra was designed to make men want things they couldn't afford. I'd fallen for it completely. My phone rang as I watched her check her reflection in the rearview mirror. Nick, it's me. Her voice still had that breathy quality that used to make my knees weak. Now it just made me suspicious. I can see you from my window, Kendra. What do you want? I want to talk. About us. About this amazing thing that's happened to you. She paused, and I could practically hear the gears turning. I made a mistake, Nick. A huge mistake. The mistake was cheating on me with a real estate developer, or the mistake was getting caught. Don't be cruel. You know that's not who I am. I almost laughed out loud. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's exactly who you are. I just didn't want to see it. Please, just give me 5 minutes. I'm coming up. She hung up before I could object, and 2 minutes later, she was knocking on my door with that special pattern she used to use. 2 quick taps, pause, 3 more. Like we had some kind of secret code. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She looked around my apartment with barely concealed disgust. It wasn't much. A 1-bedroom place with furniture from 3 different decades and a kitchen that belonged in a college dorm. But it was clean. It was mine. And the rent was manageable on a delivery driver's salary. Oh, Nick, she said softly. You deserve so much better than this. I had better. Then you decided you deserved better than me. She moved closer, and I caught a whiff of her perfume, the same expensive stuff she'd worn throughout our marriage. I was confused. Derek was persistent, and you were working so much, and I felt neglected. So you felt neglected right into his bed, multiple times for 6 months. Her perfect composure cracked just a little. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but when I saw that article, when I realized what's happening to you, Nick, it's like the universe is giving us a second chance. The universe is giving me a second chance. You're just trying to cash in on it. That's not fair. She sat down on my couch, crossing her legs in that way that used to drive me crazy. I loved you. I still love you. You love the idea of $12 million. I love the idea of us having the life we always dreamed about, the house, the cars, the freedom to travel, to start a family. We were trying to start a family. Then you decided Derek's DNA was more appealing. She flinched like I'd slapped her. Good. I ended things with Derek, she said quietly. 2 weeks ago. I've been thinking about you, about us, and then this happened, and I knew it was a sign. I studied her face, looking for tells. Kendra had always been a decent liar, but I'd been married to her for 5 years. I knew her patterns. You're lying, I said. Derek didn't dump you. You're still wearing the engagement ring he bought you. Her hand flew to her left ring finger, where a 2-carat diamond caught the morning light. I forgot I was wearing it. You forgot a $5,000 ring? It's not about the money, Nick. It's always about the money with you, Kendra. That's why we're divorced. She stood up abruptly, and for a second I saw the real Kendra, the one who'd screamed at me during our last fight, who'd called me a loser with no ambition, who'd told me I'd never amount to anything. Fine, she snapped. Maybe it is about the money. So what? We were good together, Nick. We could be good together again. Better than good. We could be happy. We could be miserable together in a bigger house. Or we could be partners. Real partners this time. I have connections, business sense. I could help you manage this inheritance, invest it properly, turn 12 million into 20 million. I had to admit, there was something appealing about the fantasy. Kendra and me, back together, living in Branson's mansion, driving those classic cars, traveling the world. It was everything we'd talked about during the early days of our marriage when we were young and stupid and thought love could overcome anything. But I wasn't young and stupid anymore. What about Derek? I asked. What about him? Does he know you're here? Something flickered across her face. Fear, maybe, or guilt. Derek and I are over. What he knows or doesn't know isn't relevant. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. She moved toward the door, then turned back. I'm staying at the Marriott downtown, room 412. Think about what I said, Nick. Think about what we could have. After she left, I sat on my couch for a long time, staring at the spot where she'd been sitting. The apartment still smelled like her perfume. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Sam, a cop I'd known since high school. Dude, saw the article. You're famous. Also, heads up, Derek Hall was asking questions about you at Murphy's Bar last night. Might want to watch your back. Derek Hall. Real estate developer, old money family, the kind of guy who'd never worked a real job in his life but somehow owned half the commercial properties in Millbrook. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, handsome in a country club way, connected, rich even before he met Kendra. And apparently he wasn't as out of the picture as Kendra wanted me to believe. I was getting dressed for my dinner with Branson when I heard the sound of breaking glass from the parking lot. I looked out my window and saw my delivery van with a spider web crack across the windshield. Someone had thrown a brick through it. Spray painted across the side of the van in red letters were the words, "Thompson's die broke." I called Sam, who came out to take a report, but we both knew nothing would come of it. No witnesses, no cameras, no fingerprints on the brick. This connected to your inheritance? Sam asked, photographing the damage. Probably. My ex-wife showed up this morning with some sob story about wanting me back. And you told her to take a hike? Something like that. Sam nodded approvingly. Good. Kendra Thompson was bad news when you were married to her. Kendra Hall is going to be worse. She's not Kendra Hall yet. Maybe not legally. But Derek's been telling people they're engaged for months. Either she's playing both of you, or she's playing you both. As Sam drove away, I stood in the parking lot looking at my vandalized van. The message was clear enough. Someone wanted me to know that my good fortune wasn't going to last. They were probably right about that, but they'd picked the wrong Thompson to mess with. Howard Branson's house looked different at night. More mysterious, more like the kind of place where fortunes were made and lost. I parked my rental car, the van was in the shop getting a new windshield, next to his fountain, and tried to shake off the feeling that I was being watched. Branson answered the door himself, dressed in a navy blazer and tie, like we were going to some fancy restaurant instead of eating dinner in his kitchen. Nick, right on time. I hope you're hungry. I had my housekeeper make enough food for 6 people. He led me through the house to a kitchen that was bigger than most people's entire apartments. A woman in her 50s was putting the finishing touches on what looked like a feast. This is Maria, Branson said. She's been taking care of me for 15 years. Maria, this is Nick Thompson, Robert Thompson's grandson. Maria smiled warmly and shook my hand. Mr. Branson has told me so much about your grandfather. He was a good man. So I'm learning. Over dinner, pot roast that melted in my mouth, mashed potatoes that were probably illegal in some states, and vegetables that actually tasted like vegetables, Branson told me more stories about Korea, about the night my grandfather had dragged him to safety after their position was overrun, about the promise Branson had made in a field hospital while doctors worked to save his shattered leg. I tried to find him after the war, Branson said, but Robert Thompson is a common name and he'd moved from the address I had. I hired private investigators in the 70s and 80s, but they never found the right Robert Thompson. He moved around a lot, I said. Construction work, always chasing the next job. What about your father? Died when I was 16, heart attack. He was only 42. Branson's face fell. I'm sorry, if I'd found him sooner. You can't blame yourself for that. Dad had a bad heart. Genetic thing, apparently. I get checked every year. Good. You're going to live a long, healthy life, Nick Thompson. And you're going to do it in style. After dinner, he showed me through the rest of the house. The car collection was even more impressive the second time around. Every vehicle perfectly maintained, most of them worth more than I'd made in the past 5 years combined. Pick one, Branson said suddenly. What? Pick a car, any car. I want you to have it now, tonight. Consider it a down payment on your inheritance. I stared at him. Mr. Branson, I can't. You can, and you will. I'm 83 years old, Nick. I can barely see well enough to drive to the grocery store, much less handle one of these beauties. They're just sitting here collecting dust when they should be out on the road, being driven by someone who appreciates them. My eyes went to the 1969 Dodge Charger, midnight black with white racing stripes, chrome that gleamed like mirrors. It looked like something out of a movie. That one, Branson said, following my gaze. Excellent choice. 440 cubic inch V8, 4-speed manual transmission. She'll do 0 to 60 in 5.1 seconds. He handed me the keys and they felt warm in my palm. Take her for a drive. Get a feel for what real power is like. I drove that Charger for 2 hours, winding through the back roads of Millbrook like I was in some kind of dream. The engine rumbled like controlled thunder, and every shift of the gears sent vibrations through my entire body. This was what money could buy. Not just transportation, but transformation. When I got back to Branson's house, there were 2 police cars in the driveway. I found Branson in his study with 2 cops, one of whom I recognized as Detective Barnes, a gruff, no-nonsense guy who'd been working Millbrook PD for 20 years. Nick, Branson said, his voice shaky. Someone broke into the garage while you were gone. Broke in? How? Detective Barnes looked up from his notepad. Cut through the back door with some kind of power tool. Looks like they were after the cars, but the security system spooked them before they could take anything. Any idea who? Working on it. Mr. Branson says you've had some trouble since the news story came out. I told him about Kendra's visit and the vandalized van. Barnes wrote it all down, but his expression suggested he'd seen this kind of thing before. Sudden wealth brings out the worst in people, he said. You might want to think about hiring some private security until this dies down. After the cops left, Branson and I sat in his study drinking brandy that probably cost more per bottle than I made in a week. This is my fault, I said. If you hadn't shown up here, I'd die knowing I'd broken the most important promise I ever made. Branson swirled his brandy thoughtfully. Besides, this isn't about you. This is about greed, and greed makes people do stupid things. Like breaking into a house with a state-of-the-art security system? Like thinking they can intimidate a Thompson? He smiled grimly. Your grandfather didn't scare easy either. I drove the Charger home that night, hyper-aware of every car behind me, every shadow that seemed out of place. But I made it to my apartment without incident and parked in the spot closest to the building entrance. The next morning, I woke up to my phone ringing at 6 a.m. It was Branson, and he sounded terrified. Nick, you need to get over here, now. What's wrong? The garage is on fire. I threw on clothes and drove the Charger like I was qualifying for NASCAR. Fire trucks were already on scene when I arrived, their hoses trained on the garage that housed Branson's car collection. Smoke poured from the building, black and thick and carrying the smell of burning rubber and gasoline. Branson stood on his front lawn in his pajamas and robe, watching 15 years of collecting go up in flames. How bad? I asked. Bad. They think they saved maybe half the cars. The rest? He shrugged helplessly. I put my arm around his shoulders, and he felt fragile, like he might blow away in the wind. Insurance will cover it, I said. It's not about the money. Some of those cars were irreplaceable. The Shelby, the split-window Corvette, they're gone. Detective Barnes appeared at my elbow. Fire department says it was arson. Accelerant poured all over the back wall, probably gasoline. Same point of entry as last night's break-in. So whoever tried to steal the cars came back to destroy them instead? That's the theory. Though it could be someone else entirely. You make any other enemies lately? I was about to say no when I spotted a familiar BMW parked down the street. Kendra sat behind the wheel, talking animatedly on her phone. When she saw me looking, she ended the call and drove away quickly. Maybe, I said. Barnes followed my gaze, but the BMW was already gone. Want to tell me about it? My ex-wife. She's been persistent since the news story broke. Persistent how? She wants to get back together, thinks we could be partners in managing my inheritance. Barnes snorted. And when you told her no? She didn't take it well. They never do. We'll look into it, but unless we find physical evidence linking her to the fire, there's not much we can do. The fire department worked for 3 more hours before they had it completely out. The damage was extensive. 6 cars destroyed completely, 4 more with smoke and water damage. The building itself was a total loss, but the charger was safe in Branson's regular garage, and that felt like a small victory. "I'm hiring security," Branson announced as we surveyed the wreckage. 24-hour protection. And I'm moving up the timeline on changing my will. I want everything legal and binding before whoever's doing this decides to escalate further. "You think they will?" He looked at me with eyes that had seen war and loss and the worst of human nature. "Nick, there's $12 million at stake. Of course they'll escalate." That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. "Nice car. Would hate to see something happen to it. We should talk." Derek Hall was apparently done playing games, so was I. The meeting was Derek's idea, but I picked the location. Murphy's Bar, a dive on the wrong side of Millbrook, where the beer was cheap, the lighting was dim, and half the customers were off-duty cops. If Derek wanted to threaten me, he'd have to do it in front of witnesses. He showed up 20 minutes late, probably trying to make some kind of power play. Derek Hall was the kind of guy who thought everything was a negotiation, including conversations. He looked exactly like what he was. Old money trying to dress down for the common folk. Expensive jeans that had probably been pre-distressed by some designer. A polo shirt that cost more than most people's car payments. And boat shoes that had never seen the inside of an actual boat. Everything about him screamed, "Trust fund, baby." "Nick Thompson," he said, sliding into the booth across from me. "The man of the hour." "Derek Hall," I replied. "The man who burns down garages." His smile never wavered, but something cold flickered in his eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Sure you don't. Just like you don't know anything about my vandalized van or the break-in at Branson's house." "Millbrook's always had a crime problem, probably gang activity." I almost laughed. Millbrook's idea of gang activity was teenagers spray painting their initials on stop signs. "What do you want, Derek?" He signaled the bartender for a beer, then leaned back in his booth like he owned the place. "I want to make you an offer." "I'm listening." "Walk away from the old man's money, disappear for a while, take a vacation, visit family, whatever. Come back in 6 months when this is all blown over, and I'll cut you a check for $500,000. I sipped my beer slowly, letting him think I was considering it. $500,000 out of $12 million. That's generous math. It's more than you had last week, and it comes with the guarantee that you'll live to spend it. Is that a threat? It's a reality check. You're a package delivery guy, Nick. You drive a beat-up van and live in a one-bedroom apartment. You think you can handle the kind of attention that comes with serious money? The kind of people who'll come out of the woodwork looking for a piece of it? People like you? People like me are the least of your problems." He leaned forward and I caught a whiff of expensive cologne mixed with something else. Fear, maybe, or desperation. "There are others who know about your situation. Others who won't be as reasonable as I am." "What others?" But Derek was already standing up, leaving a 20 on the table for his untouched beer. "Think about my offer, Nick. $500,000 tax-free, and you get to keep breathing. It's a good deal. And if I say no, then you'll find out just how unreasonable people can be." He walked out of Murphy's like he was walking out of a board meeting, confident and untouchable. But I'd seen the sweat on his forehead, the way his hands shook slightly when he reached for his wallet. Derek Hall was scared of something, and it wasn't me. I called Sam as soon as Derek left. "Can you run a background check on Derek Hall?" I asked. "Officially or unofficially?" "Whichever one gets me answers faster. I'll see what I can find. But Nick, be careful. Derek's got connections in this town. His family's been here for 4 generations and they've got fingers in a lot of pies." "What kind of pies?" "The kind that can make problems disappear, or make people disappear." That night I stayed at Branson's house. He'd hired a security company to install cameras and motion sensors around the property, and there were 2 armed guards patrolling the grounds. It felt like overkill. But after the garage fire, neither of us was taking chances. We spent the evening in his study going over the details of his will. Everything was straightforward. I'd inherit the house, the remaining cars, the art collection, and the investment portfolio. There were small bequests to Maria and a few charities, but the bulk of the estate would be mine. "My lawyer says we can have everything finalized by the end of the week," Branson said. "Once it's official, it'll be harder for anyone to contest." "You really think someone would try?" "I think $12 million makes people do crazy things. Better to have everything locked down legally." I was getting ready for bed in one of Branson's guest rooms when the security alarm went off. The sound was deafening, a piercing wail that seemed to come from every direction at once. I grabbed the baseball bat Branson had insisted I keep by the bed and ran downstairs. The security guards were already moving toward the back of the house, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. "Stay inside," one of them shouted over the alarm. "We've got movement in the east garden." Through the kitchen window, I could see their lights dancing across the landscaping. The alarm shut off abruptly, leaving my ears ringing in the sudden silence. Then I heard gunshots. 3 quick pops from somewhere near the garage ruins, followed by shouting. I ran toward the sound, ignoring the security guard's orders to stay put. I found one guard crouched behind a stone planter, speaking rapidly into his radio. "Shots fired, shots fired. We need police backup now." "Where's the other guard?" I asked. "Johnson went after them. Haven't heard from him since." We found Johnson 20 minutes later, unconscious but breathing, hidden in a cluster of bushes near the property line. He'd been hit in the head with something heavy, a tire iron maybe, or a crowbar. The paramedics said he'd have a concussion, but he'd live. Detective Barnes showed up with half the Millbrook police force, turning Branson's front lawn into a crime scene light show. "This is escalating fast," Barnes said, surveying the scene. "First vandalism, then breaking and entering, then arson, now assault with a deadly weapon. Whoever's behind this is getting desperate." "Or more confident," I said. "Either way, they're getting more dangerous." "You sure you don't want to take that vacation Derek Hall suggested?" I stared at him. "How do you know about that?" "Murphy's Bar has ears, and some of those ears belong to cops. Word gets around." Barnes lit a cigarette, which probably violated about 6 department policies. $500,000's not a bad offer, considering. Considering what? Considering the alternative might be a funeral. I left Barnes to his investigation and went to check on Branson. I found him in his study, sitting in his leather chair with a glass of brandy and a shotgun across his knees. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm angry," he said quietly. "Your grandfather didn't survive Korea so his grandson could be terrorized by small-town thugs." "Maybe I should take Derek's offer. $500,000 is more money than I've ever dreamed of having." Branson looked at me with disappointment. "Is that what you really want?" I thought about it. A week ago, $500,000 would have seemed impossible. Now it felt like settling. "No," I said. "But I don't want you getting hurt because of me. I'm 83 years old with terminal cancer, Nick. Getting hurt is the least of my concerns." He patted the shotgun. "Besides, I didn't live through 2 wars to be intimidated by Derek Hall and his hired help." The next morning brought news that changed everything. Sam called while I was having breakfast with Branson. "You need to see this," he said. "Derek Hall's in serious financial trouble. His real estate company is leveraged to the hilt, and he's got creditors circling like vultures. Word is he needs a big cash infusion in the next 30 days, or he's going to lose everything." "How big?" "7 figures. Maybe 8. I hung up and looked at Branson, who'd been listening to my side of the conversation. "So Derek needs money fast," I said, "and you're about to inherit $12 million. But not if something happens to me before the will is finalized." Branson nodded grimly. "In which case, the estate would go to probate and Derek would have time to figure out another angle. Maybe claim that Kendra has some right to it as your ex-wife. Can she do that?" "Probably not legally, but she could tie things up in court for years. And Derek strikes me as the kind of man who thinks every problem can be solved with the right lawyer." That afternoon, while Branson was meeting with his attorney, I got a call from an unknown number. "Nick Thompson?" The voice was muffled, like someone was talking through cloth. "Who is this?" "Someone who wants to help you. Meet me at the old textile mill on River Road. Come alone and come now, or Howard Branson dies." The line went dead. I tried calling Branson, but his phone went straight to voicemail. I called his attorney's office, but the secretary said he'd left an hour ago. I called Sam, but he was in court and couldn't be reached. I was on my own. The textile mill had been abandoned for 15 years, a victim of jobs moving overseas and small-town economic decline. It sat on the banks of the Millbrook River like a monument to better times, its windows broken, its parking lot cracked and overgrown with weeds. I parked the Charger behind the building and walked toward what had once been the main entrance. The door was propped open with a cinder block. Inside, the mill was a maze of rusted machinery and rotting floorboards. Sunlight filtered through broken windows, creating patterns of light and shadow that made everything look like a film noir movie. "Hello?" I called out. "Back here!" came the muffled voice. I followed the sound deeper into the building, past machines that had once employed half the town. The air smelled of rust and decay and something else, something organic and unpleasant. I found them in what had been the mill's main production floor. Howard Branson was tied to a chair in the center of the room, his mouth covered with duct tape, his eyes wide with fear. Standing behind him was a figure in dark clothing and a ski mask, holding what looked like a .38 revolver. "Mr. Thompson," the figure said, "so good of you to come." I recognized the voice now, even through the mask. "Hello, Kendra." She pulled off the ski mask, revealing her perfectly styled hair and carefully applied makeup. Even in the middle of a kidnapping, she looked like she was ready for a photo shoot. "You always were too smart for your own good," she said. "Where's Derek?" "Derek doesn't know about this. Derek thinks he can solve problems with lawyers and money and intimidation. But I know better." She pressed the gun against Branson's head, and the old man whimpered. "I know that sometimes you have to take direct action." "What do you want?" "I want you to sign this." She pulled a folded paper from her jacket pocket. "It's a simple agreement. You inherit the money, but you transfer half of it to me as a divorce settlement adjustment, completely legal and binding. We've been divorced for 2 years. There's no such thing as a settlement adjustment. There is if both parties agree to it. And you're going to agree because if you don't, poor Mr. Branson is going to have an unfortunate accident." I looked at Branson, who was trying to communicate something with his eyes. He kept glancing toward his jacket pocket. "How do I know you'll let him go if I sign?" "You don't, but you know what happens if you don't sign." I took a step closer, and Kendra immediately pressed the gun harder against Branson's head. "Stay where you are, Nick. I don't want to hurt him, but I will if I have to." "You're going to kill him anyway. You can't let him live after this." "Maybe, maybe not. That depends on how cooperative you are." Branson made a muffled sound behind the tape, and his eyes darted toward his pocket again. This time I understood. He was trying to tell me something about what was in his jacket. "Okay," I said. "I'll sign, but I want to read it first." Kendra smiled triumphantly. "Of course. I wouldn't want you to sign anything you didn't understand." She took a step toward me, holding out the paper with her left hand while keeping the gun trained on Branson with her right. It was exactly the mistake I'd been hoping for. I grabbed her left wrist and yanked her forward, using her momentum to spin her away from Branson. The gun went off, the bullet whining off a piece of machinery, and then we were wrestling for control of the weapon. Kendra was stronger than she looked, but I had 50 pounds on her and a lot more motivation. I managed to twist the gun out of her hand, and it skittered across the floor into the shadows. "You bastard!" she screamed, clawing at my face with her manicured nails. I pushed her away and ran to Branson, pulling the tape from his mouth while keeping one eye on Kendra. "My pocket!" Branson gasped. "Phone! I called the police before she brought me here." In the distance, I could hear sirens approaching. Kendra heard them too. She looked around wildly, then ran toward the back of the building. I started to follow, but Branson grabbed my arm. "Let her go," he said. "Let the police handle it." But when the police searched the building and the surrounding area, Kendra Thompson Hall was nowhere to be found. Detective Barnes found Kendra's gun in the mill's basement, along with enough evidence to issue a warrant for her arrest. But finding her was proving to be another matter entirely. "She's not at her apartment, not at Derek's house, and not at any of the hotels in town," Barnes said, updating me and Branson at the police station. "Her car's been abandoned in the parking lot of the Millbrook Mall. We're treating her as armed and dangerous." "What about Derek?" I asked. "Is he involved in this?" "He's got an alibi for the kidnapping. He was in a meeting with his bankruptcy attorney all afternoon, but that doesn't mean he didn't know what she was planning." Branson shifted uncomfortably in his chair. The kidnapping had taken a toll on him. He looked older, more fragile, like the stress was accelerating his illness. "I want to go home," he said. "I want to finish changing my will, and I want this whole business settled." "Mr. Branson, with respect, your house might not be the safest place right now," Barnes said. "It's my house, detective, and I'm not going to spend what time I have left hiding in a hotel room." Barnes looked at me. "What about you? You could stay somewhere else until we catch her." "I'm staying with Mr. Branson. Someone needs to watch his back." "Then you're both idiots," Barnes said bluntly, "but I can't force you to be smart." We went back to Branson's house with a police escort and enough security equipment to protect a small embassy. The insurance company had already started rebuilding the garage, and the sound of construction mixed with the electronic beeping of motion sensors created a constant background noise that set everyone on edge. That evening, Branson's lawyer came by to finalize the will. Everything was signed, witnessed, and notarized within an hour. Barring some legal miracle, I was now set to inherit one of the largest estates in Millbrook's history. "How does it feel?" Branson asked, after the lawyer left. "Surreal. This time last week, my biggest financial worry was whether I could afford to fix my van's transmission. And now? Now I'm worried about staying alive long enough to enjoy it." Branson poured himself a brandy. His doctor had told him to avoid alcohol, but he'd decided that terminal cancer gave him certain privileges. "Your grandfather would be proud of you, you know. For getting kidnapped, for not backing down, for protecting an old man you barely know, for doing the right thing when it would have been easier to take Derek's money and disappear." I thought about that. Maybe I'm just too stubborn to know when I'm beaten. Stubbornness is an underrated virtue, especially when you're dealing with people like Derek and Kendra. My phone buzzed with a text from Sam. "Need to see you. Important. Meet me at Murphy's in an hour. Come alone." I showed the message to Branson, who frowned. "Could be a trap," he said. "Sam's a cop. He's been my friend since high school. Kendra was your wife for 5 years. People change, Nick. Money changes them." But I trusted Sam, so I drove the Charger to Murphy's, checking my rearview mirror every few blocks to make sure I wasn't being followed. Sam was already there, nursing a beer in our usual booth. He looked nervous, which wasn't like him. "What's so important?" I asked, sliding in across from him. "I've been digging into Derek Hall's finances, like you asked. What I found, it's bad, Nick. Really bad." "How bad?" "He doesn't just owe money to banks. He owes money to some very unpleasant people, the kind who collect debts with baseball bats." I felt a chill run down my spine. "You're talking about organized crime?" "I'm talking about Tony Marconi and his associates. They loaned Derek $2 million to keep his real estate company afloat, and they want it back with interest, soon." Tony Marconi was a name everyone in Millbrook knew, even if they pretended not to. He ran most of the illegal gambling in the county, plus loan sharking, protection rackets, and whatever other enterprises the state police hadn't shut down yet. "So, Derek's desperate," I said. "Beyond desperate, and desperate people do desperate things." Sam leaned forward. "There's something else. I think Kendra's been playing both sides." "What do you mean?" I think she's been working with Tony's people, not just Derek. Think about it. Derek's too much of a coward to burn down buildings and kidnap old men. But Tony's crew? That's exactly their style. You're saying Kendra made a deal with the mob? I'm saying Kendra made a deal with whoever could help her get her hands on your inheritance. And if that meant throwing Derek under the bus, so be it. I thought about the kidnapping, about how calm and prepared Kendra had seemed. She'd had a plan, complete with legal documents and escape routes. That wasn't the behavior of someone acting impulsively. Where is she now? That's the million-dollar question. But Nick, if Tony's people are involved, you need to be extra careful. These aren't small-town thugs we're talking about. These are professionals. I left Murphy's with my head spinning. The situation had escalated far beyond a simple case of ex-wife greed. Now I was dealing with organized crime, which meant the rules had changed completely. I was halfway back to Branson's house when I noticed the car following me. A black sedan staying exactly 3 cars back, matching my speed perfectly. Professional surveillance. I took a series of random turns and the sedan stayed with me. When I sped up, it sped up. When I slowed down, it slowed down. Finally, I pulled into the parking lot of an all-night diner and waited to see what would happen. The sedan parked across the street, and a man in an expensive suit got out. He was tall, thin, and moved with the kind of casual confidence that suggested he was very good at hurting people. He walked across the street and slid into the Charger's passenger seat like he'd been invited. "Mr. Thompson," he said in a voice that carried just a trace of an accent. "My name is Vincent Torino. I work for Mr. Marconi. Congratulations. Mr. Marconi would like to have a conversation with you. About Derek Hall, about your ex-wife, and about a business arrangement that could benefit everyone involved." "I'm not interested in business arrangements with Mr. Marconi. Perhaps you should hear the details before you decide. Mr. Hall owes my employer a substantial sum of money he doesn't have. But you're about to inherit a substantial sum of money. You see where this is going? Derek's debts aren't my problem. They are if you want your ex-wife to stop causing trouble. She's been very resourceful in her efforts to claim part of your inheritance. But Mr. Marconi can make her problems disappear. Permanently." The way he said permanently made my blood run cold. "What exactly are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that you pay Derek's debt to Mr. Marconi, $2 million plus interest. In exchange, Mr. Marconi ensures that neither Derek nor Kendra ever bothers you again. And if I refuse, Vincent smiled, and it was the most unpleasant expression I'd ever seen. Then you'll discover just how creative Mrs. Hall can be when she's properly motivated. He got out of the car as casually as he'd gotten in, leaving behind the scent of expensive cologne and implied violence. I sat in the diner parking lot for 10 minutes, trying to process what had just happened. The mob was now officially involved in my inheritance dispute, and they were offering to solve my problems in exchange for $2 million. It was almost tempting, but I'd learned something important. Kendra wasn't just working with Derek anymore. She was working with people who made Derek look like a choir boy. And that meant she was more dangerous than I'd ever imagined. I called Detective Barnes from the diner and told him about my conversation with Vincent Torino. Barnes listened without interrupting, then sighed heavily. "This just keeps getting better," he said. "Now we've got organized crime mixed up in your inheritance case. Can you arrest Torino for threatening me? For having a conversation in a parking lot? Not likely. But I'll make some calls, see if we can put some pressure on Marconi's operation." "What about protection?" "I can have a patrol car swing by Branson's house more frequently, but we don't have the manpower for round-the-clock protection. You might want to think about hiring private security." When I got back to Branson's house, I found him in his study, cleaning the shotgun he'd been carrying since the break-in. "How was your meeting with Sam?" he asked. "I told him everything. Derek's mob connections, Kendra's alliance with Tony Marconi, Vincent Torino's offer to solve my problems for $2 million. Branson listened carefully, then set down his cleaning rag. "We're going to end this," he said quietly. "How?" "By giving them exactly what they want." I stared at him. "You want me to pay off Derek's debt?" "I want you to make them think you're going to pay off Derek's debt. There's a difference." "What are you talking about?" Branson smiled, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked genuinely happy. "I'm talking about a trap, Nick. A trap that will catch all of them at once." Branson's plan was elegant in its simplicity. We would arrange to meet Derek, Kendra, and Tony Marconi's representatives at the dealership, ostensibly to negotiate a settlement that would satisfy everyone. I would agree to pay Derek's debt in exchange for being left alone, and everyone would walk away happy. Except we wouldn't be walking into the meeting unprepared. "The new security system I had installed after the fire," Branson explained, "includes audio and video recording capabilities. Everything that happens in that building will be captured in high definition and transmitted to a secure server off-site." "And then what?" "Then we turn the recordings over to Detective Barnes and let the legal system handle the rest." It sounded almost too simple, but sometimes the best plans were the simple ones. The meeting was set for 8 p.m. on Friday night at the rebuilt garage. I called Vincent Torino and told him I was ready to discuss terms. He seemed pleased, but not surprised. Apparently, most people eventually saw the wisdom of cooperating with Tony Marconi. Derek was harder to reach. He'd been avoiding my calls since the kidnapping, probably on the advice of his lawyer. But when I finally got through to him, he was eager to meet. "I knew you'd see reason eventually," he said. "This is better for everyone involved." "Where's Kendra?" "Kendra will be there. She's eager to resolve this situation." I'll bet she was. The day of the meeting, Branson and I spent the afternoon going over every detail. The recording equipment was tested and retested. Detective Barnes was briefed and would be waiting nearby with backup. Sam would be monitoring police communications in case we needed immediate assistance. "You don't have to do this," Branson said as we watched the sun set over his property. "We could just turn everything over to the police now and let them handle it." "With what evidence?" "Kendra's disappeared, Derek has alibis, and Vincent Torino was careful not to actually threaten me directly. We need them to incriminate themselves." "And if something goes wrong? Then you'll inherit your own money." Branson didn't laugh at my joke. At 7:30, we drove to the garage in separate cars, me in the Charger, Branson in his Mercedes. The rebuilt structure looked almost identical to the original, but it smelled of fresh paint and new lumber instead of motor oil and history. Derek arrived first, driving a different car than usual, a nondescript rental sedan that suggested he was trying to keep a low profile. He looked nervous, constantly checking his phone and glancing toward the street. "Nick," he said, extending his hand like we were old friends. "Thank you for being reasonable about this. Where's Kendra?" "She'll be here. She's cautious about being seen in public right now." Vincent Torino arrived exactly at 8, driving the same black sedan he'd used to follow me. He was accompanied by another man, shorter and broader, who moved with the controlled violence of someone who'd spent time in prison. "Mr. Thompson," Vincent said, nodding politely. "Mr. Branson, thank you for agreeing to this meeting." "Thank you for being reasonable about Derek's situation," I replied. "Business is business, nothing personal." Kendra was the last to arrive, and she came in through the back door like she'd been hiding in the shadows. She looked different. Her hair was darker, her makeup heavier, and she was wearing clothes I'd never seen before. The transformation from suburban housewife to fugitive was complete. "Hello, Nick," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "Hello, Kendra." "Shall we get down to business?" Vincent suggested. We gathered around a folding table that had been set up in the center of the garage. Vincent placed a briefcase on the table and opened it to reveal neat stacks of documents. "The terms are simple," he said. "Mr. Thompson pays Mr. Hall's debt to Mr. Marconi, $2 million plus interest, for a total of $2.4 million. In exchange, Mr. Hall and Mrs. Hall agree to make no further claims on Mr. Thompson's inheritance, and Mr. Marconi guarantees that Mr. Thompson will have no further problems related to this matter." "What kind of guarantee?" I asked. Vincent's companion spoke for the first time, his voice gravelly and unpleasant, the kind where problems disappear permanently. "I want that in writing," I said. "Some guarantees don't need to be written down," Vincent replied. "They're understood." Derek leaned forward eagerly. "This solves everyone's problems, Nick. I get out of debt, you get peace of mind, and we can all move on with our lives." "What about Kendra? She kidnapped Mr. Branson. That's not something that just gets forgotten." Kendra spoke up for the first time. "That was a misunderstanding. I was desperate and I made a mistake. But if this agreement goes through, I'm prepared to turn myself in and face the consequences." I looked at Branson, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. The recording equipment was capturing everything. "Okay," I said, "I'll pay the debt. But I want some assurances first." "What kind of assurances?" Vincent asked. "I want to know that this is really the end of it. That 6 months from now, Derek isn't going to come back asking for more money. That Kendra isn't going to try some other scheme to get her hands on my inheritance." Derek started to answer, but Vincent held up a hand to silence him. "Mr. Thompson, let me be very clear about something. Once you pay this debt, you become a friend of Mr. Marconi, and Mr. Marconi protects his friends. If anyone tries to cause problems for you after this agreement is finalized, they will answer to Mr. Marconi personally." "Including Derek and Kendra?" "Including everyone." Kendra shifted uncomfortably. "Nick, you have to understand. I never wanted things to go this far. The kidnapping, the fire, all of it, that wasn't supposed to happen." "Then what was supposed to happen?" "I was supposed to convince you to share the inheritance voluntarily. We were supposed to be partners, like I said. But when you refused," she trailed off. "When I refused, you decided to take it by force. I decided to explore other options." Vincent's companion laughed, a harsh, unpleasant sound. "Other options, I like that." "What other options?" I pressed. Kendra glanced at Vincent, who nodded slightly. "If you had died before the will was finalized," she said carefully, "the inheritance would have gone into probate. As your ex-wife, I could have made a claim on the estate. It would have taken years to resolve, but eventually, you would have gotten at least part of it. That was the theory. So you had me followed. You vandalized my van, burned down the garage, hired people to break into Mr. Branson's house, all to soften me up for the kidnapping. The plan evolved as circumstances changed." I looked at Derek. "And you were okay with all this?" Derek's face was flushed and sweat was beading on his forehead despite the cool evening air. "I didn't know about the kidnapping. Kendra told me she was just going to talk to you, try to convince you to be reasonable. But you knew about the rest of it. I knew she was applying pressure. You knew she was committing felonies. I knew she was trying to solve our financial problems." Vincent was watching this exchange with obvious amusement. "Gentlemen, ladies, this is all very fascinating, but we're here to finalize a business arrangement, not to relitigate past decisions." "You're right," I said. "Let's talk about the future. What happens after I pay Derek's debt? You go back to your life and we go back to ours." "And if I don't pay?" Vincent's expression hardened. "Then Derek's debt becomes your problem in other ways." "Meaning?" "Meaning accidents happen, Mr. Thompson. Houses burn down, cars crash, people disappear." Branson spoke up for the first time since the meeting began. "Are you threatening us, Mr. Torino?" I'm explaining the consequences of poor decision-making. The same way you explained them to Derek when he borrowed money he couldn't repay? Vincent turned his attention to Branson, and I could see the calculation in his eyes. An 83-year-old man with cancer wasn't much of a physical threat, but Branson's calm demeanor seemed to unnerve him. Mr. Branson, you've lived a long life. It would be unfortunate if it ended prematurely. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. Life is fragile, especially for the elderly. Branson smiled. Mr. Torino, I survived 2 wars, 3 heart attacks, and 40 years of marriage to a woman who tried to poison me twice. I'm not easily intimidated. Maybe you should be. That's when Vincent's companion reached inside his jacket and pulled out a pistol, a snub-nosed revolver that looked well used and thoroughly illegal. Enough talking, he said. You pay the debt, or we start collecting interest in other ways. Derek went pale. Put the gun away, Tony. This is supposed to be a negotiation. This is Tony Marconi? I asked. The shorter man grinned, revealing teeth that had been capped with gold. In the flesh, and I'm tired of negotiations. You've got 48 hours to come up with $2.4 million, or I start taking payment in other forms. What other forms? Your ex-wife here owes me a favor for helping her with your problem. If you don't pay, she's going to work off Derek's debt in ways that don't involve money. Kendra's face went white. That wasn't our agreement. Agreements change, Marconi said, especially when people don't deliver what they promise. I delivered exactly what I promised, Kendra protested. I got Nick to the meeting. You got Nick to a meeting, but you haven't gotten me my money. I could see the situation spinning out of control. Marconi was clearly unstable, and his gun was making everyone nervous. It was time to end this. Okay, I said, I'll pay. $2.4 million transferred to whatever account you specify. Marconi's grin widened. Now you're being smart. But I want something in return. You want to keep breathing. That's what you get in return. I want a written guarantee that this ends here, that neither Derek nor Kendra will ever contact me again, that your organization will have no further involvement in my affairs. I already told you. I want it in writing, signed by everyone in this room. Marconi looked at Vincent, who shrugged. It's not unreasonable. Fine. Vincent will draw up a simple agreement. You sign it, you transfer the money, and we're done. Vincent pulled out his phone and spent several minutes typing. Then he showed the screen to Marconi, who nodded approvingly. This covers everything, Vincent said, handing me the phone. Read it carefully. The document was surprisingly comprehensive, outlining exactly what I was paying for and what I could expect in return. It also included detailed confessions from Derek and Kendra about their roles in the vandalism, arson, and kidnapping. This is very thorough, I said. Mr. Marconi believes in clear communication. I pretended to read the document carefully, giving the recording equipment time to capture every word. Then I handed the phone back to Vincent. I'll sign it. But first, I want to hear Derek and Kendra confirm that everything in this document is accurate. Derek nodded eagerly. Yes, it's all accurate. The debts, the timeline, everything. Including your involvement in the attempts to intimidate me? Yes, I was desperate and I made some bad decisions. What about you, Kendra? She was staring at Marconi's gun, and her voice was barely a whisper. It's accurate. Including the kidnapping? Yes. And the plan to have me killed if I didn't cooperate? That was never supposed to happen. It was just supposed to be pressure to make you see reason. Marconi laughed. Pressure? Right. Like when I had my boys burn down the old man's garage? Branson's head snapped up. You ordered the fire? I ordered results. Sometimes results require dramatic gestures. And the assault on my security guard? Collateral damage. I looked at Vincent. Is all of this going in the written agreement? The relevant portions, yes. Define relevant. Vincent's expression suggested he was getting tired of my questions. The portions that relate to the financial settlement? I want all of it. Every crime, every threat, every illegal act that brought us to this point. If I'm paying $2.4 million for peace of mind, I want to know exactly what I'm buying. Marconi was getting impatient. Look, college boy, you're paying to make your problems disappear. The details don't matter. The details matter to me. Then maybe you need a demonstration of what happens to people who ask too many questions. He raised his gun and pointed it directly at my head. That's when the garage doors exploded inward, and Detective Barnes led a SWAT team into the building. Police! Everyone on the ground! Now! Marconi spun toward the sound, his gun swinging away from me. I dove to my left, knocking over the folding table and sending Vincent's briefcase flying. Branson dropped behind a workbench with surprising agility for an 83-year-old man. Derek and Kendra both hit the floor immediately, hands over their heads. Vincent reached for something inside his jacket, but one of the SWAT officers put a red laser dot on his chest, and he thought better of it. Marconi was the last to surrender, and he only did it after 3 officers had their weapons trained on him. "Tony Marconi," Barnes said, walking over to cuff him personally. "You're under arrest for extortion, conspiracy, assault, arson, and about 15 other charges I'll think of on the way to the station." As they led Marconi away, he looked back at me with pure hatred. "This isn't over, Thompson." "Yeah," I said. "It is." Kendra and Derek were arrested separately, both of them looking shell-shocked and defeated. Vincent tried to claim diplomatic immunity. Apparently he was some kind of consultant, but Barnes wasn't buying it. "How long were you listening?" I asked Barnes as the suspects were loaded into police cars. "Long enough to get everything we need. That recording equipment Branson installed worked perfectly. We've got confessions to multiple felonies plus conspiracy charges that should put most of them away for a long time." "What about the mob connections?" "That's FBI territory now. They'll be very interested in Mr. Marconi's business operations." Branson emerged from behind the workbench, brushing dust off his jacket. "Well," he said calmly, "that was invigorating." I stared at him. "You don't seem surprised by any of this." "I'm 83 years old, Nick. Very little surprises me anymore." "But you knew this was going to happen." "I suspected it might. Desperate people do predictable things, and all of these people were very desperate." As the police cars disappeared into the night, I found myself standing in the empty garage with Branson, surrounded by the detritus of our elaborate sting operation. "So, what happens now?" I asked. "Now you inherit $12 million and live happily ever after." "And you?" Branson smiled sadly. "And I get to keep the promise I made to your grandfather." 3 weeks later, Howard Branson died peacefully in his sleep. His funeral was well attended. Apparently, he'd been more popular in Millbrook than he'd let on. I gave a eulogy about promises kept and debts honored, and I meant every word. Derek Hall was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for conspiracy and racketeering. His real estate company was liquidated to pay his creditors, and his family disowned him publicly. Kendra got 3 years for kidnapping and conspiracy, plus another 2 for the arson. She'll be eligible for parole in 4 years, assuming she behaves herself. Tony Marconi and Vincent Torino are facing RICO charges that could put them away for life. The FBI raided Marconi's operations and found enough evidence to indict half the organized crime figures in New England. As for me, I'm still getting used to being rich. I kept Branson's house and his car collection, and I've started a small foundation that provides scholarships for the grandchildren of military veterans. It seems like something my grandfather would have approved of. I also bought a new delivery truck, not because I need the money, but because I like the work. There's something satisfying about bringing people the things they're waiting for. Last week, I delivered a package to a young couple who just bought their first house. They were so excited about a simple delivery that I couldn't help smiling. It reminded me that not everyone who gets a package at their door is about to have their life turned upside down. Most of the time, a delivery is just a delivery, but sometimes it's the beginning of everything.